Welcome to the Every Mom is an Athlete podcast, where we believe that motherhood is inherently athletic. I see you lifting car seats, chasing toddlers, and carrying groceries one-handed while holding a baby and a coffee. Your daily life is a workout. I'm Dr. Karlie, pregnancy and postpartum expert, sports chiropractor, strength coach, entrepreneur, and mom of 3. Here you'll find solo episodes and real conversations with other moms and leading experts, so you can live your strongest, healthiest, most aligned life in motherhood. No matter how long it's been since you've had your baby, whether you're reconnecting with your body, rebuilding your strength, or just figuring out what feels good again, you're in the right place. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy and excited to be able to interview Nicole Roggow today. Nicole's a former D1 basketball player. She has a degree in exercise science and is also a former CrossFit competitor. She's an amazing athlete. She's a mom of 3 kids under 5. She's also a nutrition coach, and she has a specialty in training and coaching pregnant and postpartum women. She is just a wealth of knowledge on social media. She tells it like it is, and I had so much fun interviewing her. As always, I would so appreciate a 5-star review. If you enjoy this episode, pop on over and just leave a review there to help more moms find us and get the information they need to help them have a great pregnancy and to heal up postpartum. So without further ado, here's the interview with Nicole. Hi, I'm here with Nicole Roggow. I'm so excited to talk to you because for a long time, I feel like I've been just following you online, really enjoying both your athletic journey and then also your transition into motherhood has been really cool to watch. Nicole is an amazing athlete, an amazing content creator, and just so knowledgeable about nutrition, fitness, health. So I'm really excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about kind of your athletic journey and then transition into motherhood too would be great.
We'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I, was an athlete my whole life, competitive athlete. I would say since I was 8. And I know people are like, what? But I was playing travel sports since I was 8. Very much into that was my life. There wasn't much else that I did except play sports, basketball mainly, even from when I was little. I went on to play college basketball. I played Division I at Hofstra University, where I got a degree in exercise science from there. And then after that, I had thought about going overseas to play, and I was kind of hounded by my college coach, by kind of everybody around me at that time. That was kind of just the next natural step that people at my level did. And I just chose not to do it. I was kind of overplaying at that point. I wanted a break. My knees hurt. I don't have great knees. And when you're playing at that level, my dad used to call it being in the army, right? And I hate repeating that because no disrespect to people that are actually in the army, because it's not like that, but it basically is that sort of your schedule's not your own, your life's not your own. You're told where to be, when, what to wear, when to talk, that kind of thing, right? That's just the life of Division I athletics. I wanted a break. I wanted to be a regular kid. I graduated college at 21. I was pretty young for my age. And so I didn't go play overseas. I stayed back, and my senior year, I needed another internship. You need a few internships at the end, especially as an exercise science major. And I wanted to do cardiac rehab. That was kind of what I thought I was going to do as a profession after that was cardiac rehab in a hospital setting or something like that. I was all signed up. I was ready to go. This was the last semester of my senior year. And I don't know, 2 weeks before I was set to start, the hospital called my academic advisor or whatever and was like, yeah, we're cutting the internship program. We just we don't see a need for it basically anymore. They did away with it. Brought me into the office and was like, hey, we need to find another internship here. You got to start. If you want to graduate, we got to find one in 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, well, what are my options? And she was like, well, the only 2 places left with spots are these 2 places. And I forget what the other one was. And one was a CrossFit gym, a local CrossFit gym. And I was kind of laughed at it. I was like, isn't that where people try and do strength conditioning that are moms and dads and stuff?
Yes.
I don't know much about it. I heard the owners are great and change of plans, basically. So I'm like, okay. Once I graduated, I remained an intern there. And then eventually one of the other interns there opened his own gym. He was a fireman, and I went with him and I coached at his gym, and I ran that gym for quite a long time. And that's kind of where I got into coaching and CrossFit and training and things like that and competing. And it's funny because I didn't go overseas, and literally within months I was competing in something else.
Of course.
Just kind of, the butterfly effect a little bit, I guess. of my life. And that's kind of how I got to athletics and sports and crossed it back over into competitive fitness.
And what year was that you started that internship?
I graduated in 2012. So
Okay.
I had started obviously before I graduated, and we were actually still in basketball season when I started. And from there, it just escalated. I always liked coaching and liked competing, and that environment gave me the opportunity to do both at the same time.
And then you tell me a little bit about sort of just quickly your kind of competitive trajectory after that. Like I know you went to the games. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so 2013, that was that first year. I did a few like local competitions and stuff. Dan Tominski was a great CrossFit athlete, back at that time. And he owned a gym maybe less than 5 miles from the gym I was competing at. And he had seen me at a few local competitions and I did really well. And so he's like, I need a girl for my team. Like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So my first year ever knowing CrossFit, I went to regionals on a team in 2013 for CrossFit Lindy. And then after I got a taste of that and I saw what that looked like, it looked like a real stage, like a real sport. And I kind of wanted to be back there. So then I ended up moving. I was doing the Outlaw Way programming, and then they were from Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia. And so I moved to Virginia and I decided I was going to train full time and see how good I could actually be. And I was going to coach at that gym. So that's what I did. So then 14, 15, I went individual to regionals. I never made it to the games individual. And then 16, another person that was also being coached by my same coach kind of did the same thing and was like, hey, we need another girl for our team. And basically like, if we have you, we'll go to the games. Like our team's that good. And so I was like, okay. So I moved to Texas 2016 and we won regionals that year and we went to the games and that was it. That's all I wanted to do was go to the CrossFit Games once. And then I planned on retiring and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Nice. So now kind of tell me a little bit about now that you're a mom. So you're a mom of 3 under 5 years old, right?
Yep.
So give me an idea of what your fitness looks like now, just kind of like on the day to day and what that looks like.
Yeah, I get about an hour. Sometimes I get an hour and a half, depending on what the day looks like, what my workload is. I'm very organized with planning it out ahead of time. So it's not usually a surprise on the day what I'm going to do or how much time I have. I have that pretty laid out ahead of time on my week. And I think that is like the collegiate athlete in me, right? Like nothing, or maybe it's the exercise scientist in me too. Like nothing is ever accidental. Nothing is ever random. I'm never doing anything where I wake up that morning and I'm like, I wonder what I'm going to do today. I've never done that in my life ever. And I do think that's what keeps me progressing, what keeps me healthy, what keeps me injury free, what keeps me organized with my exercise, right? Like I know what time I'm going to exercise and what I'm going to do. And it's never like a surprise. But some days, some days I do. Like today I'll do something that's 30 minutes just because I'm still kind of trying to rest a lot of this week and keep my volume low. Some days I go out on 10-mile runs that take me an hour and 20 minutes. Some days I just do a gym workout and I plan to be in and out in an hour. I think motherhood has made me incredibly efficient with my time. I will also say like my mental capacity around exercise is way less. So like when I walk out of that gym, like I hardly think about it anymore. I don't have to think about it again until I get to the gym the next day and I know what workout I'm going to do, right? Where back then it would consume my mind. Everything I ate, how many minutes I slept, if I napped that day, like all these things were like, if you don't nap, you're not going to have a good workout tonight. If you don't do this, you're not going to, like, that's completely gone. And I think that's just a byproduct of motherhood. Like I have way more important things and way more things on my mind now than that. I know the time I need and the time I want to do what I want to do. And if you give me a free hour, if my husband says, I'm going to take the kids for an hour, go do what you want, like I'm going to be in the gym. So that's just what I truly enjoy and always have. And I think that's kind of why you see what you see from me. You know, some people just don't really love to be in the gym and that's okay. You just can't expect to look at somebody else and say like, oh, I'm a mom of, I think that's like a big thing. This is kind of off on a tangent, but I think that's a big thing I see kind of on the internet a lot is like, oh, I'm a mom of 3, so I could do that. And it's like, mom of 3 is the least that we have in common.
Yeah.
You know, like that's very surface level about what we have in common. It's my history, my mindset, just how I'm conditioned, what I like to do, you know, my genetics, like all of those things. That's not to say mine is better. That's just to say, like, when you look at somebody, I think in motherhood, we tend to say, oh, she's a mom of three and I'm a mom of three, so we're the same. And that's, like I said, being a mom of three is the very least I have in common with a lot of people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you for sure. I think one thing that a lot of moms who are getting into fitness, one of the things I recommend, and I'd love to hear some stuff that you recommend for, new moms or moms getting back into fitness, but is basically part of what you're saying, which is like have a plan. You can't just go to the gym and say like, all right, I have an hour. I'm going to do some of this and some of this. And I don't know, maybe I'll try this. It's like, you've got to go in with intention. And I think that's one thing that motherhood does for sure to us is like, yeah, you got to be more efficient. But then it's also like, that's how fitness works every time, like not just in motherhood. Like you can't just throw spaghetti at the wall and like see what sticks. So just what are some of the things that you think, for women who maybe don't have the athletic background you have, like that are getting in? I know you train a lot of women, you work with a lot of like nutrition coaching and stuff too. So what are some of your like tips, would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I love coaching. I don't want to say non-athletes, right? Because usually they come with a fresh slate. It's really easy for an athlete to say, I'm going to get back into this, right? Like I'm going to show up in the gym. I know what the gym looks like. I know how to move around it. It's really different for somebody to come back from motherhood or come back in motherhood postpartum and say, I'm going to change my health. I'm going to improve my health. I'm going to get into the gym. Like that's intimidating. You already don't feel like yourself. You're kind of like uncomfortable, and now you're putting yourself in an even more uncomfortable situation, right? So I really like that. And I think just finding a program that makes sense and trusting whatever it says. So like if I was going to go and, I don't know, learn to surf, I don't really know what I'm doing. So if I just get there with my surfboard and get on the board and start surfing, like I'm not going to learn it.
Right,
I need somebody to kind of walk me through it. And so just finding a program of somebody that you trust knows what they're doing, that feels good on your body, that you want to show up to do. I think that's a really important piece of it, right? Like if the program is not fun for you, if you're not excited to go do it, like it's probably not going to last very long. So finding something that you like to do, whether that looks like a CrossFit gym, whether that looks like bar, whether that looks like Orange Theory, like maybe it is just getting programming and going to lift, like because you want to get back and lift, like whatever consistency looks like for you or can show up for you, like that's what's going to produce results. And then also finding a way to like make different scenarios work. Like, okay, maybe you can only get to the gym twice a week and the other 2 days you have to work out at home with your kids around. Like that's fine. So let's get 2 really good workouts at the gym. And then the days we're home, like let's get something that is realistic for us, right? Like we're not going to try and fit this crammed, packed hour of exercise with 2 little kids running around. Like it's probably not going to happen. So kind of knowing where we can bend and move and be realistic about the time we have, which is again, where that organization or that thinking ahead comes into play.
So speaking about that, let's talk. I'd love to hear your sort of what you prefer, because I know, I have 3 kids too. One of them is still immobile because she's like almost 4 months old, but the other 2 are crazy. And I'd love to talk about working out with kids because I see you working out with your kids and not working out with your kids. And I do the same thing. And part of me is so much like, I want my kids to see me work out.
I just want to let you know, this is like, I could do an entire hour podcast on this.
I know.
So I know where you're going with it. And this is a great question. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. So you know what I'm going to say is part of me is like, I want my kids, especially my daughter, who's the baby. I want them to see me working out and lifting weights and mom strong. And, I want the time for myself. Like I like to lift too. I like to be in the gym. And I guess it would be different if you're like going to bar or going to yoga. But anytime you're trying to do any of that stuff at home, there's going to be interruptions. So I just love to, you tell me what you think.
Yeah. So I made a post the other day. I forget which post it was, what the premise of it was, but somebody said, oh, it was the post. It was like me working out in my driveway and like my 2 smallest kids were just like chaos. They had like bubbles in my face. They're dancing. They're like walking all over my mat. And I basically wrote on the post that, everyone makes a big deal about how hard it is to work out with a baby. And then you get toddlers and kids and you're like, I'll take a 4-month-old.
Way harder. Yeah. They just stand the bouncer.
Yes. Yeah. So I was on that post and somebody wrote like, I feel this and I really feel guilty because I like working out without my kids, but I know they need to see me work out. And I basically wrote back to her and I was like, I don't know who told you that. there is no part of me that works out around my kids because they need to see mom work out or they need to think mom is strong. My kids know I'm strong, right? Like they see me, they see what I do at home. They know I'm strong. They know I am capable. They know I can move my body. They know I can get on and off the floor and reach for things and hold them and climb and like do all these things. They don't need to see me lift weights to do that. My mom is 65 years old. She runs marathons. She's strong. Her arms look like mine. Like she's a little thing, but she's strong. I never once in my life saw my mom exercise when I was a little kid. Like I cannot remember a time that she ever worked out in front of me ever. We didn't have gym. We didn't have weights in our house. We didn't have anything. Like my dad's the same way. He was a football player. He's strong. If you look at him, he's this big, strong Italian man. Looks like he can probably still squat 300 pounds. That's how strong his legs look. I've never seen that man touch a weight in my life. I knew he was an athlete. I knew he was strong. I am of the firm belief that if you're exercising for your kids, you're doing it all wrong. And I just mean visually. If you're saying I go to the gym because I want to be healthier for my family and I want to, be the best me for my kids, that's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that are feeling pressure to do a workout in front of a toddler so that the toddler thinks they're strong or knows their mom's strong or whatever. If your mental health is suffering because of that, if your workout is suffering because of that, because you're trying to force this circle into a square thing where I need to work out in front of my kid because that's pressure on yourself you don't need. I always tell people on the internet, like, if I'm working out with my kids around, it's because I have no other choice. Right? Like, that's like option C. It's option C or D is like, these kids are going to be here and we're going to get in what we can, right? But my best workouts, my good workouts are not being done with 3 kids running around the garage. They're just not. And I'm also not setting up this whole stage and saying like, okay, at 3:00, we're all going to go outside and mommy's going to work out so you can see how strong mommy is. Like that's not what we're doing, right? So if you want a preference, my preference is that my kids are in the gym, childcare, having fun and playing with other kids and being kids while I'm working out and putting 100% focus into my workout. Now, that's just not the reality of what can happen or what is able to happen with my schedule a lot of times. So if my only other option is a workout with them around, cool, we make it work, right? And usually I shift what I have to do, like those lifting sessions, like that video that girl commented on, that was a day where I run and lift in the same day. And so a lot of times I'll do my run in the morning when they're at school so I can really focus on my run. And then when they get home from school, they always like to go outside and ride their bike or play with chalk or whatever. I'll get my lift in while they're doing that. So maybe a lift that would have taken me 20 or 30 minutes ends up taking 45 minutes to an hour because I'm being a mom also. But hey, it's the best I was going to do that day, right? So like that's kind of where I'm at on the subject. I think to put that pressure on moms to say, do all this workout. Oh, and make sure you also work out in front of your kid and figure out how to do that because they need to see that you're strong. Like that's some internet crap we made up along the way, to be honest.
I think, and tell me, I think I know what you're going to say, but I think we can focus more on showing our kids a healthy lifestyle, right? An active lifestyle, right? And
like, what I mean, right? Like mom knows, your parents are strong or healthy or whatever you're not by the 45 minutes they see you lifting a weight.
Right. Yeah.
Like how many times do they see you carry 6 bags of groceries in at one time and say, oh, look, mom's
strong. Can't go back. You can't go back for a second trip.
Like that's the kind of stuff that they don't forget. That's the kind of stuff that they know you're strong. They don't have to see you like lift a dumbbell or squat. I don't know. I imagine being 3 years old, right? And seeing this random thing that mom's doing, like, I don't know, picking up like a clean to them probably looks the same as like mom picking up the stroller and putting it in the car.
Totally.
Like they don't really get it,
Yeah. I have patients in my office, that as they're getting, I think especially first time moms, like that are really fitness and health and wellness is important to them. So they want to like make sure their kids see that, right? And I'm like, your kids are going to see that because you're going to go on walks. You're going to go to the park. You're going to go, there's all this other stuff you do. And so I guess I bring that up just because I do sometimes still feel that pressure, but then I'm like, I have to remind myself, it's like, no, I actually kind of like working out with my kids and I'll do the same thing you do is like, oh, if I have just like a lift and I can kind of take it slow and like drink some coffee and draw with some chalk and then do a lift, and like, that's kind of fun. But yeah, I think just remembering like an active lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, like they see it in all the ways. And like the 45 minutes in the gym is not the deal breaker, right?
If you like that, if that's your routine and you like working out with your kids and it works,
Totally.
cool. Like that mom's comment on my post that was like, I would rather not, but I know that we have to have our kids watch us work out. And I'm like,
says who?
Who told you that? I feel bad, I do think like this is another kind of thing that I have about the internet too, is like moms working out with their kids is very hot. It gets a lot of views. It gets a lot of attention. It's like women exercising pregnant on the internet, right?
Totally.
I always say, like, if I wanted a video to go viral every day, I would just get my 5-year-old and put her in the gym with me and have her like, hey, do this snatch with mommy. Hey, do this back squat with mommy. Like, I could very much stage viral videos in the gym. And like, how many videos are we watching out there were staged like this? And so I think that too starts to tie into like, then these moms are like, oh, well, that's so important. I need to make sure that my daughter's in the gym so that she starts snatching with me. And it's like, yo, that girl was told, hey, do what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so sometimes there's that external pressure too, that like, are you really watching reality or are you watching a video that was curated to be a clickbait almost, And that starts to kind of trickle over. And that's kind of just motherhood in general. We could probably talk about that, about feeding our kids, about sleeping, about like literally everything, right? It's like, it always looks like somebody's doing it better on the internet, and try not to get caught up in that.
Yeah, thank you. I know, just like drop the mic, but don't drop the mic. I'd like to transition just a little bit to kind of talk about your 3 under 5. So I'd like to talk a little bit about having back-to-back pregnancies so close. And then also, I've really always wanted to ask you this. I'd like to touch on breastfeeding a little bit, just kind of like breastfeeding, nutrition, getting back in the gym, and just kind of like how you did that, what that looked like for you, advice you have, all that stuff.
Yeah, so we have 3 under 5. The only planned one was my middle one. So we didn't plan to do 3 under 5. However, I knew that I'm an only child. Brenton's one of 3. So we knew probably somewhere between 2 and 3 would be our number. I think if number 2 was a boy, we may have been like, we're good. But we have 2 girls, 22 months apart. Like I said, after we had my first one was kind of a surprise in the sense of I didn't have a regular cycle for many years competing in like CrossFit and stuff like that. And then I stopped competing and I got my cycle back just from like literally working out less. I didn't do anything special. And then it was kind of a regular. So I was about 8 or 9 weeks pregnant before I even figured it out because my cycle was so irregular. I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I'm pregnant. So we had her. And then right after she was about a year old, we started trying again and I got pregnant right away. So then we had Rylan. So that's 2 in 22 months. The girls are exactly 22 months apart. And then Rylan turned 1. So my second baby turned 1. And literally 2 weeks later, I got a positive pregnancy test. I hadn't even had a period between 2 and 3. So I literally got pregnant on the first cycle I could have. And I was like, well, I guess we're having 3. And so then we had a little boy, and he's been the easiest baby. How is your third baby?
Yeah, definitely the easiest. And so I have 2 boys and then a girl. And yeah, I don't know. She's a little baby angel. I don't know what that third one, man.
He's still like that. He's about to be 2 next week. And yeah, if I could have guaranteed to have 10 kids like Quentin, I would have 10 kids. He's been perfect since day one. And so, yeah, he was born 21 and a half months after my second. So my oldest daughter didn't turn 4 until Quentin was 4 months old.
Oh my gosh.
So 4 months, I had 3 under 4. So they're close. And it was hard. I'll never say like, oh my gosh, it was so insanely difficult. I would never do that again. Like, I wouldn't do it any different. If you gave me the option to spread them out more, I probably would take the opposite and put them closer together, if I have to be honest. I liked having all my kids at once. I felt like I went through that season at once, especially being an athlete. Like, I never got too far out of the postpartum stage where I felt like I was back like where I am now. I was almost always just a year postpartum, which felt great. I felt, capable and cool, and I was, back doing my stuff, but never far enough along where I was like out of that stage.
Do you think there's anything as far as like your recovery now, knowing kind of what you know, having 3, is there anything you'd go back to baby 1 and change as far as like fitness?
Yeah, I didn't do a great job with my pelvic floor and core recovery after number 1, just because I didn't know. I truly didn't know. And I tried to when I got pregnant with Rain, I was like competing on the national level in weightlifting, and I couldn't wait to get back onto the barbell after. And I did it way too soon with her. I tried to compete at the Arnold. I mean, COVID happened at 6 months postpartum, but I was registered for the Arnold at 6 months postpartum. I was going to go compete and lift at the Arnold. I'd qualified, and there was no reason. There's just no reason, I guess. Like, I think that's like the biggest thing and in my mind, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to be me. I need to rush back. I need to prove to people. Like, that wasn't really my mindset. My mindset was like, well, aren't I fine? Right? Like,
Mhm.
can't I just go do this? What else am I supposed to do? I truly didn't know any better. And then through my second pregnancy, I just wanted to learn more. I was basically like, okay, if we're going to do this again, like, and I'm going to keep doing this, like, I want to help women do this. I want to do this the best I can, which is kind of always my motivation for everything I do. And I just started learning everything I could from an exercise science standpoint. I was watching people that did it well, that talked about it, that taught. Hannah Bauer was a huge inspiration
Mhm.
and mentor for me. She still is. She taught me a lot personally, and I learned a lot. And then I did it different through my second pregnancy and my second recovery. And I had a much quicker and better recovery. And then I repeated that on my third one. So I would say I went 2 out of 3. I did them. I wouldn't change a thing. The first one I would have, but I did change it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people it's like, what's the cost benefit analysis of getting back to heavy weightlifting, long distance running, like so fast? I'm like, why? And during pregnancy too.
Yeah. A lot of times, like, what it did with me in my first pregnancy is like double unders is a great example. I was going to go lift at the Arnold and I still couldn't do double unders comfortably. I would either feel like I was peeing or actually pee. Like, I truly couldn't do them comfortably. And I never did them, even up to a year postpartum. Like, even when I got pregnant with my second and at a year postpartum, I still could not comfortably do double unders
Hmm.
because of my lack of core control and pelvic floor control. And by like 4 months, 4 months pregnant with my second, I was doing them like effortlessly.
Yeah. Because you've
No,
done the
no,
work, right? The pelvic
yeah,
floor
like
work.
no
Yeah.
feeling of leakage, no. And then after postpartum, because I went through like a full rehab program and I actually focused in on it and I did all the right things, by like 12 to 15 weeks postpartum for my second, I could easily do double unders with full pelvic floor and core control and breathing properly and stuff. And I was like mind blown because I knew like I couldn't do that a year postpartum for my first. So I think multiple pregnancies, especially close together, tend to scare people. And I always tell my moms, like, when they come to me with that fear or that like worry, I'm always like, hey, this is your chance to redo it, to do it better. You know more now, you're more knowledgeable. It's like with anything else, anytime you get to run it back, just do it better.
Yeah, I think, and again, we could talk forever about this, but I think it's interesting that many women feel like it's just such a natural process to get back to being athletic, but it's not really the case, right? Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. The stuff we want to get back to doing is not what our ancestors were doing. I hear that a lot. Like, oh, people back in the however many thousands years ago weren't doing pelvic floor strengthening. I'm like, yeah, well, they also weren't like trying to squat 200 pounds and like run a 6-minute mile and like, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff.
If we're talking about ancestrally or whatever, people moved for function, for purpose.
Totally.
They didn't move for recreation. And so they weren't back there like, oh, I need to get back to lifting to prove to everybody that I can lift. It was like they took it easy because the people around them helped them. They weren't going
Mhm.
out on hunts for a certain amount, or they, like
Yeah.
they were doing a lot more walking. They were on their feet a lot sooner. Like all these things, like, yeah, they actually were doing pelvic floor and core work.
Totally. Yes.
Like, they were. It just looked different. No, it wasn't like bird dogs and dead bugs, but it was like giving their pelvic floor and core time to recover, doing movements that felt good, like things that we don't do now.
Yeah.
Women sit on the couch or sit at a desk most of the day and then think they're going to get up and start jumping on a weak pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. Is like I see it with athletes. It's like athletes can either go two ways. It's either athletes understand that pregnancy is basically like an injury that we need to rehab back from, or athletes think they're above any like pelvic floor injury or needing to scale back, right? It's like one or the other, really.
Mm.
There's no like gray area in the middle for a ex-athlete, where I think like some people that don't have a fitness background, it's a little bit easier to explain the flow of things to them, right?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, what I tell my patients in my office, especially it's like the ones like how I would put myself. Like I was a college athlete too, but I was never a professional athlete, but like I'm like, I can do more than the average, whatever, But it's people like me who like want to jump right in. And I'm like, do you think Serena Williams, do you think like all these famous women who've had babies and gone back to the very highest level, they are not back out there doing it right away. They are doing their pelvic floor work. They're working on their hip stability. They've got like very succinct plans to get them where they want to go. I'm like, it's like the weekend warriors that are like, want to like, boom, back in. I'm like, no, 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 no. We got to like dial it back here, sister. I want to just real quick, I want to be respectful of your time, but I would love just quickly to talk about breastfeeding and just nutritionally, what that looked like for you and what you recommend. Because I know you work with a lot of moms on nutrition, really postpartum.
Yeah, so I nursed all my children, my first one for 10 months, my second one for a year, and my third one for 14 months exclusively. We didn't use formula. We just didn't need to. I always had like an oversupply. I think maybe it's genetic, but I also know I'm very intentional with how I fueled and hydrated myself, the entire time with all three of them. So I like to think that that didn't go in vain. And that was part of why I always had such a strong supply, even with all the exercise I did and everything. I also will say that I like never started training hard or training more while I was nursing, right? I always really was respectful and aware of the energy output I was asking of my body when I wanted to maintain a milk supply. So I actually didn't start training for high rocks until I was completely weaned from my third baby, because I knew that there was no way my body was going to be able to handle the energy output needed for something like training for high rocks and nursing my baby. So I think that's where a lot of women go wrong. They want to start training for things or doing all these things, and they don't understand that like this might not be your time, right? Like just give it a few more months, finish nursing your baby, like get to where you want, or don't, or you can train for those high level things, but know that it may have an impact on your supply unless you're really willing to eat a ton. And I know for me, like I already have to eat a ton. I was eating like upwards of 3,000 calories nursing just to maintain a supply. And I was doing like maybe 45 minutes of exercise like 4 times a week. So I couldn't really do much more than that.
Yeah. I think that's important for people to know though.
Yeah. And then as far as like what I was eating, my goal was always, I didn't gain a lot of weight during pregnancy. I don't want to say my body didn't change, but it never was like dieting was never even in my thought process after. My body pretty much came back down to pre-pregnancy weight quickly. Yes, the composition was different. Yes, it looked completely different, of course. But I was never like, I never felt like I had a ton of extra weight on. I just I do think that's more so genetically. That's just kind of how my body handled pregnancy. So my focus always postpartum was actually just my milk supply and eating enough for that. That was really my main concern, and knowing that my body was going to do whatever it did to come back to baseline, and that when I did turn up the intensity of exercise, I would gain more muscle and all those things, right? Like I was fully aware of that. So really my big focuses were on like not letting myself get hungry, really focusing on eating plenty of fat and protein. I'm not really somebody that naturally gravitates toward eating fat. I knew it was essential for milk supply, so I really focused on that. And then just hydration. I would say those were like my 3 biggest principles. My intake didn't look very different postpartum when I was nursing as it does from like right now. Aside from the fact that like I truly took it as a responsibility to like not be hungry.
Right.
Like where now, if I get caught up in work and all of a sudden I turn around and I haven't eaten in a few hours, I'm like, oh, whatever, I need to catch up. Where when I'm nursing, I really was aware of not letting myself do that because it was my baby's food source. So I think that would be the biggest difference. And that's really truly what I work on with my postpartum moms is like, we don't need you hungry. We need you to be fueled enough to match the output you want to do. If you can't do that, then you need to lower the output you're doing. And also quality. That's like the biggest thing with nutrition postpartum is truly the quality of food that you're eating.
Yeah, that is all very, very great advice. I have 5 rapid fire questions for you, just sort of for fun, and then we'll wrap up. What is your favorite mom snack that you always have on hand, or athlete snack, whatever, favorite snack?
I really like chocolate chips. Ooh. I don't want to say it's always on hand, but like they're in my pantry all the time. Yeah.
Ideally, they're always on hand. Is there one baby product that you couldn't live without?
A sound machine. I think a portable sound machine.
That would be my answer too. Do you guys have a guilty pleasure TV show that you watch like after the kids are in bed?
Well, I don't know that it's a guilty pleasure, but we watch a lot of How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
That's like always our go-to. And then we really like those reality shows. Like we're watching like $1 Million Secret right now,
Yeah.
or like The Mole, like the reality game shows. Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. One word that you hope your kids would use to describe you someday.
Fun. I think fun.
I like that. And best advice you've ever received about motherhood or fitness?
I think just to like run your own race. That's really important, especially in 2025. We talked a little bit about that, but everyone else's lives are so visible and so easily accessible, and it really means nothing to you and your family and what you guys are doing. So kind of like, yeah, run your own race, keep your eyes forward, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great. So where can listeners find you, find more advice, resources, programs, learn all about all the things you know?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Nicole.Roggow, Roggow. I own a company called Honor Your Nutrition. We have training and nutrition programs. You can find it at honoryournutritioncoaching.com. My email is available on my Instagram. You can DM me. I'm pretty good with getting back. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, and just appreciate your honesty, your openness. Keep doing what you're doing, encouraging all of us moms and helping us get fitter and stronger.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Karlie.
Thanks for listening. Every Mom is an Athlete isn't just a podcast. It's a reminder. Motherhood is athletic, and you're still the athlete you've always been. But it's not about going back. It's about moving forward intentionally and powerfully. If this episode resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a quick review, or rate the show. It helps more moms to hear what they need to believe, that every mom is an athlete. See you next time.